I am now going to assault your mind with subliminal messages. What is it, trusted sidekick?
Blessed love. Yes, we're very thankful for such. And yes, it's all about fairy tale folly days and nursery crimes, the execution. That's going to be something heavy, my brothers and sisters. So as the ad said, you could definitely pre-order your copy today. And this will be officially our fourth episode of Fairy Tales, but our fourth official video documentary. The first is The Master of Ceremony, the second is Seven, the third is The Night of the Black Tiger, and the fourth will be Fairy Tale, Folly Days, and Nursery Crimes, the execution. But of course, again, give thanks, of course, for your presence with us. Just a moment here in the Tiger's Nest. Honorable Priest Isaac here with you, glorifying Haile Selassie I. We are definitely in the realms, in the midst of the Earth Day of Negus and Agas, the King of Kings, climaxing even at a time like now. Haile Selassie I, Negus and Agas, and I just thought it would be interesting to answer a question there, or even ask a question, I should say. I'm posing the question. Yeah, this is a different program today. We are literally posing the question, and of course, as you can do, as you know, it is quite possible for you to leave your comment. So I'm going to ask you to comment on this subject area here today. So I'm looking forward to reading your comments, and I'm sure those who are listening and watching are looking forward to reading what you have to say. Did the white man really write the Bible? Now, the reason why I brought this up is because people would bring that up all the time in the conversation, but you gotta remember, it's the white man that really wrote the Bible. Okay, now that's the question. Is it really the white man that wrote the Bible? But now there's another statement that people usually make. Remember that it is the white man that gave us the Bible. Listen to me good. Remember, before the white people came into Africa and enslaved us and brought us to the Western world in ships and shackles and chains, we didn't know nothing about any Bible. And then all of a sudden He taught us to read and write. We couldn't read, we couldn't write before. You would be killed if you were caught reading and writing. Even if his own brother was teaching us to read and write, they would definitely deal with them in such a very bad way. So now you have us now reading and writing. Can you believe? The slave who was never allowed to do that. Yeah. And then they give us the Bible. Okay, the same church that we could not go, all of a sudden we could go to the church. So obviously, it is the white man that gave us the Bible. Look at all our ancient traditions in Africa. Look at the Dogons and look at the people of the Yoruba tradition and all the different traditions. You don't see them reading the Bible, do you? You don't see it anywhere there in Timbuktu, do you? Now listen to what I'm saying, my brothers and sisters. So this is also a claim that is made. Now that is slightly different. For you to say the white man gave us the Bible is a slightly different conversation than did the white man write the Bible. You understand? Sometimes, I know we like to debate and we like to argue, and many times I've sat down in conversations and see people go back and forward and try to bring people in the conversation, and yet still the points are not clear. The points are not on point and precise. So a conversation on did the white man write the Bible could literally turn into a conversation of did the white man give us the Bible? Listen to me good. You'll see what I'm talking about by the time we are done here. All right. Now, this is very, very important. On the religious level, basically what we have as the Bible is a book dictated by the Almighty God to special people over time through history, basically from almost the beginning of time. You have the books of Moses that document the creation of the worlds, and of course until the time of Moses himself. And then you have the books of the prophets and the patriarchs and a few matriarchs that really compile the Old Testament. These are individuals that were inspired by the Almighty God, and over time the different books were brought together to create the Old Testament, which eventually joined with the New Testament to become what we call today the Holy Bible. Now, in a sense, there is a lot of religious belief even in that statement, but the religious belief or the religious history, please listen to the words good, the religious history of the Bible, that aspect which people debate, for example, if Moses really existed, and for example, if he did he really go up into the mountain and speak to the Almighty and brought down the tablets that were carved with the finger of the Almighty, and people go into Noah and his boat, and you get different conversations and you go into that in depths. But that is debatable. A lot of that is theory, and a lot of that is belief, and that is just the facts, But now, when it comes to hardcore science and history, we just did a program. Please listen. We just did a program, or a two-part program really, about maybe a strong and a half ago on the shock of the hour, and we were directly speaking of the Bible. And we highlighted certain historical aspect of the Bible. A lot of things that we need to look into if we're dealing with the Bible with knowledge. For example, the Septuagint, 285 BC it was, according to what we've been taught. This book was created, by the 72 individuals that came from Palestine, modern day Israel, and under the Ptolemy or the Ptolemy, if you want to refer to it as that. These are the rulers of Egypt after the time of Alexander. We have the Ptolemies. So this specific Ptolemy or Ptolemy, he commissioned these 70 scholars to come into Egypt and to translate the old Hebrew, Old Testament, the Torah, into what became the Septuagint, the Greek version basically of it. But again, there's a bit of religious belief mingle there, because when it comes to science now and factual and the facts, when it comes to science, science separates facts from theory. They have facts, yeah, they have facts. Like a few evenings ago, we just did a program there. Again, this is on the shock of the hour of Oronin, and we were showing you that is the fossil that they found there in Kenya in the year 2000, that they say is 6.1 million years old. And within the whole aspect of quote unquote evolution, they would tell you that the human being and the primate and the chimpanzee and XYZ shares, they have similar traits, genetical traits. They have similar genetical traits. Now that may be scientifically so. You know, that may be scientifically so. So this means humans came from the chimpanzee. Now that's not scientifically so. That's where you go into the realms of theory now, because that's your theory. Someone else could say, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that we came from them. It could mean that we have a similar ancestor. I'm saying all of this to say that it's important for us when we go into the realms of history and science. You got to be able to separate factual science from theory and what an individual may believe. So putting that in the realms of the Bible now, and who really wrote the Bible, as I clearly said, from what we are expected to believe, even historically, the Septuagint, the Greek version really of the Old Testament, was created 285 BC. Let's mark the dates. Under the reign of the Ptolemy, let's understand the time in history and what was going on. And 70 scholars came from Jerusalem to do this translation. This is what we're told. So the Septuagint now basically became the Bibles that we have today as far as the Old Testament part of it. Now, again, history. This is cold facts. Cold facts. The Septuagint that came out of the temple or the library of Alexandria, or the Serapeum, which is also called the museum. The Septuagint that came out of that place, that Septuagint cannot be found. That's not something you have in any museum, or you could say, well, it's in this glass case XYZ. That's very, very important. Yes, they do have some old versions of the Septuagint. I think the oldest version of it is one from the 1st century AD. Or even if it's from the 1st century BC, it is not the Septuagint that was created by the 70 Jewish scholars. This is very important. When you're going to really speak of something factually, you got to put the stats and the datas and everything in order, the data in order, the information in order, the history that we are expected to believe in order as well. That is why you'd hear me explain what we are expected to believe. What's the contemporary information given about this subject area here, and then we go into what's really going on, because that Septuagint doesn't exist. Listen to me good. The Torah that the Septuagint was translated from, that doesn't exist neither. So the Septuagint in 285 BCE was translated from a Torah, which was before that, the original Bible. That doesn't exist. We ain't talking about Dead Sea Scrolls, and P fragments and this fragments. We're talking about the book that the Septuagint was translated from, Septuagint, depending on how you would like to, pronounce it. So that's very important. In fact, when we're speaking about the Hebrew Bible, again, the oldest copy of a complete Hebrew Bible is the Leningrad Codex, and the Leningrad Codex is 1,000 years AD. That's about 1,000 years ago. That's 1,000 years ago. Now that's the oldest manuscript or oldest complete version of a Hebrew Bible. I'm not saying that there isn't one older than it, but that's the oldest one that we can deal with, that they have. That's just the truth of it. That's just the reality. That's how science works. You can't go beyond the facts. Anything beyond what's in front of your face, you're gone into the realms of theory and what you believe. You understand? So we got that clear. Now this is just facts. And it's very important. This is also important to mention. you cannot overlook the importance of the same temple, the museum, the same, what you call it, the Serapeum, the library at Alexandria. That building housed the scrolls, the ancient writings of Kemet, which were really taken from a lot of the other temples and placed into the temple there where the Library of Alexandria was, where all the scholars came from Jerusalem to translate the Torah into the Septuagint. Those scrolls, that's why I'm saying, and I always say, that the story within the Septuagint is very similar to a lot of the ancient Kemetic writings that were on those scrolls and still on scrolls that you still have in libraries and museums, and of course what's on the wall that cannot even be destroyed. When you read the story, you're reading the same story, similar sounding story in the Septuagint, the Greek Septuagint, which eventually became the modern day Old Testament in its English form after passing through so many other different things to get to that point. This is what we are to believe. You understand? You could cipher out that part. As I said, we did a two-part program. We did a two-part program on the shock of the hour, Bible 1 and Bible 2, where we went into even the language and the different language structure and the Syriac structure, and exactly which languages came from off of that, you know, and its relation to the coming down from the Medu Neter, the oldest tongue, from our research really, and coming into the demonic and the heretic, or the heretic to the demonic to the Coptic, and we show that the Coptic even down to the Ge'ez. The Ge'ez is a living hieroglyphic language, you know, in written form. That is the truth. But as I said, we already broke that down, you know, for those definitely interested. Well, for those who will be subscribing to the 2 free strongs of the Shock of the Hour, for this strong for sure, I will be definitely sending you a copy of that, the first and second part of the Bible program that we did for the Shock of the Hour. Very good information. Yes, so I hope we're all good. If I'm speaking too fast, pardon me. But for sure, you know, you could even on your device, you have methods and ways of slowing it down. The point is that I know everything I'm saying is on point. Okay, good. So we have to understand there are many different versions of this Bible, from the Gothic Bible, you know, the Aleppo Codex, as I said, the Leningrad Codex, and XYZ. But as we are celebrating the Earth Day of the King of Kings and the Lords of Lords, it would be quite appropriate to mention that we in Ethiopia has one of the oldest versions of the Bible. And as I said, again, I got to refer to these programs. When we did the Bible program on the Shock of the Hour, as I said, that statement made by the king, there's a level of diplomacy in his statement. Because if we're going to look at what the emperor is saying on a historical level, really, the only other Bible as such, because we're talking about complete Bible, you know. You don't, not scripts and piece of it. The complete Bible, the only other Bible as such that the emperor could be really wrestling with at that time, to say that we have one of the oldest, and not necessarily the oldest, would have to be the Syriac. And this may sound strange, maybe the Coptic. Maybe, is it maybe? But anyway, for those, as I said, who will be asking for their 2 strong subscription, you'll hear what we go into in depth, but this is just a short program here. Now my point is that even if Ethiopia doesn't have the oldest, that's not even the argument, so that's why I'm not even going down there. Let's just say, as the emperor says, we have one of the oldest. That's good enough. And this one of the oldest version of the Bible. We did a program just the other day as well, speaking of the different manuscripts, not just the whole Bible now, but the oldest known versions of the New Testament. Can you imagine that exist today, that are still around? Because we can hypothesize, if that's the right term, and say, oh well, before the Ethiopians had the Ge'ez New Testament. Remember, the New Testament was originally written in Greek, and the Old Testament was originally written in Hebrew. Okay, we grow up saying these things, and Neil Armstrong is the first man that landed on the moon. We just repeat things that people say, and there's no J in Hebrew and all them kind of things, and we just repeat things. So where are these books that you're talking about? Where is the Bible that was written in Hebrew? Where's the New Testament that was written in Greek? That's a good one. Of course it's a good one. We in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bible. And this is why, for those who say we talk too much, well, we're making this one quick. We almost done. This is why we talk too much. So you could clearly comprehend even within the explanation. You got to know where to separate hard, core evidence and facts from what you've been told and what you believe. Because scientists like to show, hey, this is the facts. And even the scientists will go as far as to say, okay, we've now stepped into the realms of our own opinion. This is a theory. Yeah. So to the question now, did the white man write the Bible? Now, before we answer that, if in the 4th century AD, because that's how that's how old the Ethiopian manuscripts are dated to, 4th century, 400 AD, pardon me, around 400 AD thereof. And if that is so, well, after 1492, the 1500s and the 1600s, when the slave trade cranked up, and it is sometime after that brutality we were given the Bible, the King James Version of the Bible. Now, and I'm not sure, I'm sure it may be the white man that produced that version of the Bible, because there are many versions of the Bible in between that, and we in Ethiopia have the oldest version. There are a heap of versions between that. We could have gotten the Gothic Bible. Maybe it's German we would be speaking if that was the case. We could have get the Spanish Bible, some other Bible, but somehow the King James Version of the Bible became the standard bearer of Bibles. And you may argue that, well, we never had it in West Africa and XYZ. Okay, fair enough. But again, we in Ethiopia have one of the oldest versions of the Bible. So whatever took place in the so-called slavery time, you cannot make me believe that the wisdom that we had as an ancient African people, we didn't understand even before we knew of any King James Version. We didn't understand all over Africa, not just in Ethiopia, that we as Africans have one of the oldest record kept as it relates to the stories that are in the Bible. You mean we didn't know that? Even if our culture didn't utilize that book, we understood that our brothers in Ethiopia literally possess the oldest form of this manuscript and have it in safekeeping as well. We knew that. So to say someone gave us the Bible and we in Ethiopia have the oldest version, it really doesn't add up. You'd have to show us that, well, we in Ethiopia don't really have the oldest version. That's the only how. That's the only how the white man gave us the Bible can work. That's the only how the white man gave us the Bible can work. You got to refine your statement. So as Jomo Kenyatta said, the white man told us to close our eyes and something or the other. When we opened our eyes, they had the land and we had the Bible. I think that's how the statement goes. Okay, all right. Obviously, we can understand where he's coming from. But you got to refine the statement. You got to refine it. Are you saying when you open your eyes, you had this document that was produced by Europe, that is a copy, a played with version of something that was more ancient than them, that came from the highlands of Ethiopia? Yeah, okay, that's good. It doesn't come from them. So in other words now, that will bring me back now to, did the white man write the Bible? That's the question. And I'm looking to hear you comment on this one now. Because I hear people say it all the time, remember it's a white man's book. If the white man write the Bible and this and that. But we in Ethiopia have the oldest version of the Bible. We're talking science here, factually. You know what I mean? Well, remember it came from the Hebrew and the Jewish and the Greeks. Where the Bibles before the Ethiopian version of the Bible that you can show me, well, this is where it came from. You can't find them. As I said, you cannot even find the oldest Septuagint that came out of the place. You can't find the Torah that the Septuagint was translated from. But yet still we in Ethiopia have the original manuscripts in Ge'ez. And everybody want to go around us and pretend, well, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? They're just, you know, latecomers. Latecomers, my foot. You see, this is why the biblical land of Israel challenge is so heavy. So heavy. Because Ethiopia is the Bethlehem and Kemet is the Jerusalem, man. That's where it is. But you see, because we're trying our best to fit the puzzle somewhere else, we have to change so many aspects of the story. You know, that's why I don't follow people, man. There was no J in Hebrew. You ain't gonna see me on that train, riding the train, talking about, hey, there was no J in Hebrew. And anyway, for those who are constant listeners, they know where that little humor comes from, you know. No disrespect to the Hebrew scholars, you know, no disrespect at all. But anyway, do give thanks, as I said, remember fairy tale, folly days, and nursery crimes. Hey, I want the comments below. The comments I want to hear what you think about this one specifically. Do you think, I'm asking, do you think that the Bible is a white man's book? Do you think it was the white man that wrote the Bible? You know, and if so, how is it that we in Ethiopia, and we're talking about even before, I mean, them killers here, the language, again, this is why I will repeat, you know, part 1 and part 2 of that episode we did the Bible, of the shock of the hour a few evenings ago, man. Because we're dealing with the people that did not even have a construct of any language at the time when they're trying to tell us they were translating this and translating that. What's the oldest language? We broke that down. What's the oldest known understanding of a writing and a language? And of course it brings us to Medu Neter. And it's before that, because we showed that in the higher lands of Ethiopia, the Medu Neter was already developed, already evolved to a high standard. It was perfected in Kemet, and then it came down to specific, you know, scripts, as we said, from the Hieratic and the Demotic and the Coptic. You have to understand these things and how that spread into the Phoenician script, and then even branch out into the Syriac script, where out of which you get your Aramic and the Hebrew. And so you got to know these little simple things. We ain't gone into Latin yet. Latin is an African script, you know. The Latin is an African sound, an African language. The Latin, the classic, the real classic Latin from the Phoenician script as well. This is some key points. You can't be playing with knowledge and just be chatting this and chat. Oh, I don't believe, and that does not work. Then you're telling people, oh, we had this before and this had that and that had that and this translated this and this wrote this and he write that, and they couldn't even speak and they couldn't even construct words properly. How are they going to translate and write, and you want to give credit to this great knowledge to these people here? Nah, man. That's just the fact. I'm just telling you how it is. Straight up. Nah. We in Ethiopia. And the king referring to a time frame again where people were just developing their language. Where people were just developing their own language. Learning how to construct it and write it. And we don't have the oldest version of the Bible at that time already. So it's impossible for you to give Britain any ranks when it comes to these old manuscripts. Not even Greek, man. You got to understand who writes history, eh? And I'm not saying I know it all, or the top scholar, or the master teacher. No, but I try my best to be a master student and a master thinker for myself. A lot of us, we don't think for ourselves. Watch videos, you don't even read books. And even if you read books and just repeat what you read and what you heard, think for yourself, man. Think. Yeah. So definitely, as I was saying, once again, remember, man, Fairy Tale, Folly Days, and Nursery Crimes coming out for the 15th day of December. The 15th day of December, that's what's going on. Fairy Tale, Folly Days, and Nursery Crimes, cutting and clearing and renting and tearing, and keeping in mind, you could definitely pre-order your copy today, and definitely, of course, you know, as soon as it hits, you're going to get it straight in your inbox, in your email, and yeah, man, top execution. And remember, of course, the 2 Strongs subscription for the Shock of the Hour is definitely that campaign is still on, so you could still email us and, you know, say you want to get the 2 free Strongs, the Shock of the Hour, and we'll definitely be entertaining you until that time is up. And remember, after that, it's basically up to you. You are free to subscribe to the monthly Shock of the Hour program. It's only $50 a month, and you get the program every evening and every evening's worth of the program, and it definitely comes to you via your email. So you know to email us, priestisaac27@gmail.com as well. Definitely in the Tiger's Nest as we continue. Now this is what I want you to do. For all those who are not subscribers to the Shock of the Hour, I need you to email me at priestisaac27@gmail.com, because for a limited time only, I will be offering, listen to this, 2 free weeks of the Shock of the Hour. So if you're not a subscriber to the Shock, of course you've listened to the Shock, but if you're not receiving the Shock of the Hour every evening in your inbox via the email, then you need to contact me and say, Priest Isaac, I would like to get the 2-week subscription. That is the free subscription for the Shock of the Hour. And we will send you, email you, each and every evening after the Shock of the Hour, that episode specifically that was recorded. Remember, the Shock of the Hour is a program that comes to you every evening. I'm talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And of course, as I said, after the program, you get the recording of the program in your inbox, in your email the next day. That is the Shock of the Hour. And of course, it is a monthly subscription of only $50 United States currency. But I am offering you for a limited time 2 weeks subscription, free of cost, for the Shock of the Hour. And of course, after the 2 Strongs, or 2 weeks as they call it, is expired, it is up to you if you'd like to continue with the Shock of the Hour subscription. So, to get 2 whole Strongs, 2 whole weeks specifically as they call it, of the Shock of the Hour free, no charge whatsoever, and you could full joy the nightly program that you ain't gonna hear on YouTube and you're not gonna get on Facebook, just definitely contact us, Priest Isaac, PRIESTISAAC 27@gmail.com. Blessed love. Alafia. to each and every one. Salamta and blessed love. Honorable Priest Isaac here. It is with great joy that I am happy to announce to you that I have officially released my first ebook, Anno Ancient and Modern Revisited. This is the continuation process of our easy-to-read books. Within the pages of Anno Ancient and Modern Revisited, we take the time to show you the spiritual connection with the island of Antigua and Heliopolis in Kemet in Egypt, with the island of Antigua and the legendary continent of Atlantis. We also highlight Green Castle Hill, also known as Mount Anu, which is known as the Stonehenge of the Caribbean, with the countless of megaliths that align with the movements of the heavens. This is a must-read for all those who are students of the esoteric realms, astronomy, geology, and ancient sites. Of course, to get a copy of your book, all you have to do is to contact us at area code 1268-728-3162. Call, text, or even WhatsApp. Or you can email us at priestisaac27@gmail.com to get a copy of your ebook, Anno Ancient and Modern. It is an easy to read book, may appear light, but it is extremely heavy.